Hello, this is Linda Vettrus-Nichols, and do I have an amazing person to introduce to you, Lisa McFarland. Welcome, Lisa.
Hi, Linda. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. You have the most amazing story of transformation. I would love to hear more. So, the idea there is no separation. When did that maybe start in your life?
It's actually fairly recent, I would say, in the last couple of years, as I have been able to pull sort of higher and higher away from the experiences of being, human and a human body and our personality and all these things that we take to be real and are attached to. Over time, I think just as I move further and further into a broader view of things, it becomes very obvious that most of the things that we consider to be different or separate about us are differences not only with other people, but certainly even just in nature and just feeling this connectedness that is the life force that unites everything that's alive, everything that's come from our planet. We all started in the same place, and it's just become a more robust way of feeling connected to everything, I think, for me in my healing.
Ooh, I love that. And when you were growing up and you kind of had maybe now, if you look back, there was a disconnection or, um, what was it like growing up? Do you have siblings?
Yeah, I have one older brother whom I'm very close with, and I think growing up, I was more of a competitor. I grew up in a both my parents professional folks who kind of started with nothing, and my father's an entrepreneur, and he's still at 80, almost 85, working, 60 hours a week. And so I grew up in that environment. I wanted to emulate his entrepreneurial spirit. And so I was always kind of drawn to performance, and growing things and creating things. He's an architect. So I never felt particularly creative, but I felt that sense of needing to create or needing to perform. Certainly in sports, I played, instruments as a kid and
Oh,
things like
okay.
that. So there was not a sense of connectedness. It was more that sense of, I'm inching ahead. What's everyone else doing around me? And what do I need to do to keep that edge, assuming that I ever had it, which I probably didn't. Um, but yeah, it wasn't a connection that I was aware of. I think I had more of a sense of competition that did separate, that did create that feeling of being separate. Born into a home that had a lot of resources like love and care and protection and safety. Those are things that we can, take really for granted. I had a sense of goodness about me. I didn't feel like I always kind of felt like if others can do something, I can probably do it too. Or I always had a sense that I could do things and that it would turn out okay. Being in a kind of a stable home or what we would consider to be a stable, loving home, I didn't have a lot of fear of the world. I think that one of the first things that happened that was not a traumatic event necessarily, but that did give me the insight into the world at large and danger and things like that. And I have written about this as a young person. I might have been in like fourth or fifth grade, and we had had like a family, dinner, Sunday dinner on the back porch, like cooked out, whatever. And we had a young woman in our lives who was a student who helped out my parents with, us as kids and helped around the house and things. Anyway, she was a runner and she was going for a run after our meal, and I wanted to go with her, but being a little girl, she clearly wanted her running time, which I now so appreciate. And so she said, "Hey, I'm going to go do my thing. Wait for me at the end of the driveway, and I'll swing by, and you can, grab that last mile or so with me." And as I stood out there on a Sunday afternoon, a car pulled over and tried to get me to come into the car with them. And it was I had a visceral reaction to it. I went running up the driveway, got with my parents, was very teary. And anyway, long story short, it was a non-issue. I described the truck, we had gone and looked, and long story short, it was fine. It was just that was like one of the early memories I have of like maybe the world isn't so safe.
Ah,
And as I moved into high school, I had some tragic losses early on that I don't even think my parents really knew how to show up for me other than just loving me, because they were so random. And so as a junior in high school, I lost a friend of mine who had been a neighbor, someone that I grew up with. She was the older sister of my really closest friend who, has been my maid of honor, and we've been friends all these years.
yeah.
Um, but her older sister had gone to college at the end of that summer, which would have been the beginning of my junior year of high school, and was followed home by a local person who had been using a significant amount, I guess, of drugs, and became very violent. And he raped and brutally murdered her
Oh,
just feet from her dorm room.
yes.
So that was, you know, it was completely on so many levels. It pulled the illusion of safety and the illusion of love that permeates all of us. Really threatened that for me, and turned it upside down. And as I was healing from that, my former boyfriend, whom I had dated like it maybe in the 10th grade, I guess, our senior year, took his life with a gun. And
Oh,
so then I had this kind of really terrible experience with suicide, which
yeah.
is not just loss. It's complex. There's guilt, there's shame. You feel responsible. Others sometimes make you want to feel responsible. And so those two events really changed that sense of probably safety and security that I had grown up with for so long.
Mhm.
um,
Oh,
yeah, little did I know I would, go on to have other even more profound losses in my life that
mm,
um, would continue to put me in this space of knowing intimately what it's like to lose someone that I love.